Hi everybody, this is Josh Culp. We are learning Daf Shui. We are on Daf Yod Zayin of Masechet Gittin, and we got to talk about marrying one's niece. An interesting subject, one that might make you feel a little queasy thinking about it, but comes up here in the Talmud, and I want to explain it. So our Gemara asks, why did they insist on writing the time in the get? And the one of the answers is Shema Yechapeh al bat achoto, lest he come to try to cover up for the daughter of his sister. The explanation is that he married the daughter of his sister, and she had an adulterous affair. He wants to cover up for her, and in order to do that, he puts an earlier date in the get than she was really divorced, sometime before the adultery occurred, and therefore it looks like she was a grusha, a divorced woman, and not a married woman when she had an adulterous affair. Indeed, in the Yerushalmi, we find an even more, spicy version of this, where we find an actual story of somebody who was nasui et bat achto. He had married his sister's daughter, and she had an adulterous affair while she was still married, and he went and wrote an early get in order that she should be considered a unmarried woman when she had an adulterous affair, not a married woman. And according to the Gemara, it was in response to an actual case, according to the Yerushalmi, that they instituted writing dates in Gittin. Now, probably that's not a historically accurate picture. I doubt that they actually didn't have dates in Gittin until this story happened, but probably more likely the Gemara is explaining, like it is in the Bavli, why we have a date in the get. My assumption is probably that most documents have always been dated, and the Gemara here is asking why and connecting it up to a theme that comes up later in another chapter, which actually in the Yerushalmi, this is found in the fourth chapter and not in the second chapter, which is a chapter all about tikkun olam, things that were done in order to modify the law. So we'll come back to that when we learn that chapter. I don't want to get into it right now. But I just wanted a couple words about why the daughter of his sister. First of all, the rabbis did not prohibit niece marriages. The Torah prohibits uncle marriages. And to the rabbis, that is specific. A boy cannot marry his aunt, his father's sister, or his mother's sister, but a girl can marry her uncle, her father's brother, or her mother's brother. It's unequal. The authors of the Dead Sea Scrolls thought that was a horrendous position, but the rabbis thought it was the right interpretation of the Torah. I'm not going to get into genetics over here. I am not a genetic scientist. I don't know how problematic it is to marry your sister's daughter or your brother's daughter. I'll leave that up to other people. But clearly, two things. First of all, niece marriage was preferred because it kept things in the family, and the assumption could be, if you're going to give your daughter away, what better thing to do than to give her to her uncle, who you can trust, someone you know will treat her well. And so I think that this is a result of fathers looking after their daughters. And in that sense, it makes perfect sense. One thing that's a little interesting is why the Gemara always talks about the daughter of his sister and not the daughter of his brother. And I do actually have an article, not that I wrote, that somebody I know wrote, Professor Adiel Schremer of Bar Ilan University, talked about the rabbis were sort of pushing the daughter of your sister because people naturally were inclined to marry the daughter of their brother, thinking that keeping it in the male side of the family, but the sister's side of the family would bring in, let's say, another family intertwined, right? If your sister, generally speaking, goes with her husband and moves out to her husband's home, marrying into your sister's side would do better for intermingling families. I'm not talking about genetically, I'm talking about more financially, to sort of keep more people within the family. And the rabbis thought that was something beneficial, something positive in marriage, and not to have families go their separate ways through marriage. There might also be many inheritance consequences over here in keeping a daughter's eventual potential income in the family through her granddaughter and her eventual through her daughter and eventually her grandchildren. Okay, but I think I said enough about marrying the daughter of one sister. I think it's still legal according to Jewish law. I do not know as I said, the genetic dangers of it, and I don't know whether it's legal according to secular law. I have not come across such cases. I have heard many people of marrying cousins, but marrying uncles, I have never heard of that actually existing in our day.